This is the structure for our pages that we're going to use in our application. At the moment, I see it as having 4 working pages which will be hosted inside what we call the main window. If we go to our application, you'll see that when you create from the template, you create a new WPF application, it has 1 window. And what we're going to do, that would not just normally be a screen that you would see, and you can see it's laid out with this 450 height by 800 width. We're going to change that. And what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a navigation system by using this as a host for the other windows or the other pages, that we're going to use in our application. So it's really important you understand what we're doing here is that this main window will never have any controls in it. It will never have any data in it. It will just host these 4 pages that we need to do. So we've got the login page, and then we're going to have the loan page, which in our Synoptic application would be the mortgage page. Then we're going to do running costs for motoring, which is going to be the insurance and so forth. And then we show all of the costs as a yearly, a monthly, and a weekly sort of cost of running your car. So that would be the summary page of all of the mortgage costs and electricity and council tax and so forth in our actual application that we will build for the Synoptic assignment. So that's the structure. And it's a linear structure. I'm not attempting to put any back arrows in or navigate back. We're going to just do it as a linear because that's all we're asked to do. And therefore we can satisfy that much more easily and much more effectively if we just do it as a linear and then have perhaps a logout button that will take us back to the login page. And that will be the only thing. You kind of start again if you want to change your mind. Creating new pages in WPF is actually very easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the pages we need first, and then set up the navigation structure so that we can access them using the pages from the main window being the host. So in the structure here in the Solution Explorer, in the project, that's the solution. In the project, which is called Motoring, right-click it and add a page. Now it'll open up a dialog box for you. First time round, it's going to take a few minutes to initialize the templates. And I'm going to call this page login. Now, I suggest we always use a prefix for pages which says page so that they're all grouped together in the Solution Explorer. In many cases, what people would do is they'd set up separate folders for each of the pages and the classes and all the other things that they need to create. But I think for a simple application like this, we'll just keep them all in the same layer of our structure. So that's how a page is going to be created, and there it is. It's just a basic page, and what we're going to do is we're going to modify the page in terms of its shape and so forth in the next bit that we do. So right click again on Motoring, add, and we're going to add a new page, and this is going to be page loan. So do that, add, and let's add another one. Add page, and this is going to be called page running. Notice no spaces using Pascal case for those. And then finally we're going to have add page, and this will be page summary. So that's how we create our pages, and what we'll do next is we'll alter those so that we can use the navigation structure with the main window doing the hosting. So let's set up our main window so that it can do our hosting for us. Now the first thing we want to do is to remove the grid because we don't need the grid. This is just going to be a host window. And then we're going to change window, that word there, which describes what the object is, to a navigation window, and that suddenly will introduce all the features we need. You'll notice that the tail, the closing tag, will also change automatically. And what we're going to do here is we're going to change the title. Now this would be the application title, and we're going to say motoring expenses, and we're going to make it, instead of wide, we're going to make it vertically more and in time with what we want. So we're going to do I think 800 by 450. And you'll see that that's now how we're going to change. So I'm going to just do that to fit. And you can see the shape of things to come. The title's already in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to then say behind the code of the window, remember every page and window has a code behind, we're going to change that so that it can accommodate the navigation as well. So here's the code. And what we have to change is instead of this being window, we change it to navigation window. So that now inherits from this directive here, which is windows.navigation. So that's now going to make it go back to here. And what we can now do is we can specify which of the pages we want to start up with. So that's known by the source. Now I've got this on my clipboard, so I'm going to put it in here after the width property. And it says source equals page login.xaml, so it'll open that one first. And we want it to be center screened when it does open. So that's how we set up the navigation, so that this is just a host. And what that will then do is that whatever page login, it'll be constrained inside here so that different pages don't open up in different parts of the screen. It'll be in a single page of an application. So what we'll do next is we'll move on to set up the loan, the login and the running and the summary pages. But that's going to be more largely cosmetic and changing how they look. We won't put any functionality in as yet. So I'm inside the page login XAML. We don't actually have to change the code behind for this page at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert some code underneath here. Just to change this layout. You'll see that the layout is still this rectangular wide layout. So I'm now going to paste it in so that we've now got rectangular vertical. And what I've done is I've said design height is 800 and the width is 450, so that's what swaps that around. And then I've called it page login and I've given it a margin of 5. You may just be able to see here, if I go up here, that the main page itself, everything contained in that page will now have a margin all round, and we'll talk a lot more about margins and padding and stuff like that when we're doing some layout, is going to be 5 pixels in from the edge so that no text runs up exactly to the edge and looks really odd. So we're on to setting up navigation UI equals false, and that's just a debug feature that appears. I don't want it to appear every time we're in debug because it kind of gets in the way of some of the features that we create. So I'm setting that to false. Now, as I said, we don't need to change any CS for the page login just at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the other pages, the loan, the running and the summary, and I'm going to change the headers for those and show you what I change. I've got the stuff on my clipboard and I can do that without you having to watch the process, and then I can still talk it through. I've changed all of the headers for all of the subsidiary pages in the application. So page login, I've changed that to login. I'm just going to actually take out the word page from here. So it'll just be called login. That's just a title, it's a cosmetic thing. It doesn't change the fact that this is called page login here. That's the object's title. This is just what might be shown to the user. So I've done that. Once again, it's width and height. I've placed a margin and I've shown the navigation UI is false. And so in page loan, that's what I did before. So page loan, I've just copied those things before, but I haven't actually done the navigation UI thing here because I don't think I need it. Height and width, loan calculator is the name of the page. It doesn't stop it being called page loan. Page running costs, same things as before, and page summary, costs summary. So that's what I've done. So that's all of our pages, the headers set up for the cosmetics of what we need to see inside the application. Now we won't be able to view these pages when we run the application at the moment because we have no navigation between them. But that will start to appear very quickly once we've set up the subsidiary things that we need. This is a really good point just to talk about what we do. In programming, most inexperienced developers will rush in to do the interfaces. I'm only setting these interfaces up because I need them as objects to refer to. Now what I'm going to do next is we're going to concentrate on all of the classes that this application will need in order to function. And that's really important, so that whenever we make a thing that's going to be worked on a page, we've got everything we need ready to be implemented straight away. And what we'll also have to do is watch about the way in which we can do the precedence of the things that we create, because some things depend on each other, and if it doesn't already exist, we can't ask to call it. So we have to create things we need in a certain order. And it may seem a bit of a, sort of a disappointment that you're not going to immediately start to show the interface, but it'll be so much easier if when we go to the interface navigation, set up the controls, do everything we need is already in place for us just to use it. So what we need to do now is to make sure that it works. This would be something that you would do more regularly than perhaps I've done it up to this point, and you would save as often as you can so that you don't lose progress in your work that you've done. So we're starting off in main window here, and we want to make sure that the page login shows when the application is launched. So what we need to do is we need to go to page login, and I'm going to put what's called a text block inside the grid. So we do that. That's the opening statement or the opening signal that we're going to do, text block, and the IntelliSense is brilliant inside WPF, and it picks up what it thinks you need. And the page text that I'm going to show to the user is enter your credentials. So that will credentials it should be, yeah. Credentials, and that's what the user will see. But what I also want to do is I want to decorate this text, and this text, if you showed it up, would just be about 10 point, I think it is the default, and it'd be in the top left hand corner, and it would look very, very ordinary. So we want it to be better than that. So I just want to tease you a little bit with the decorators that we use inside the XAML that we create. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it from my clipboard, and I'll show you exactly where the decorators go. In this, you'll see the opening tag has two chevrons, the less than and the greater than. And the decorators for our text block are defined just before the closing chevron. So hear what I'm saying. This text block's properties will be horizontal alignment center. We could do vertical alignment center as well. The font size is 24. The margins are these, and I'm going to talk about how those are constructed. The font weight is bold. Now I'm often going to do this so that it makes right in your face what all of the colors and everything else are, and it looks very verbose. In production code, you wouldn't put a separate line for many things. You would just have one line. So that's what I'm going to do with the decorator for this. So now what we do is we save all, we build, and we should get a build succeeded down in the bottom left hand corner, and then we start. Now this might take some time to actually make it into something, but there it is. Because I've already built it, of course, you can see enter your credentials. So that's proving that we're opening up inside page login, because that only exists inside page login, and that the main window, which is called motoring expenses, has opened up here with this. So next we're going to get into true object-oriented programming, remembering that WPF is only giving us a GUI, and we'll start to create some classes.